this episode of CobbTV, we are talking about the drumming style of Gene Krupa. Yes, and be sure to like and subscribe for more epic musical content. Now, before we begin, I have to say that Gene Krupa is one of my biggest influences on the drums, period. And when I wanted to learn how to play jazz, I emulated and studied Gene Krupa more than any other jazz drummer that there is. Gene Krupa is also an influence to many of the drummers that we've talked about on our Drumming Styles program. Everybody from Doug Clifford to Bill Ward to Keith Moon. He's also the first drummer to have been recorded with the kick drum as part of his trap set. He's an influence to a lot of my drum heroes, and in order to get in the head of your drum heroes, it's important to check out their influences. So let's get in the head of Gene Krupa by checking out his influences. He was influenced by Baby Dodds, Louis Armstrong's drummer, Zutty Singleton, Davy Tuff, and Chick Webb, as well as many more, but Chick Webb specifically was one of the drummers who really influenced him to start his own big band. And yes, let's start out by talking about the big band era style of drumming. We have a stock beat, the Krupa feel or the Krupa beat. It should definitely be in your drumming repertoire. You can hear it in all sorts of different movies and media, from The Mask to Donkey Kong, and it's gonna sound like this. Gotta love that rolling toms that he did. Again, it's part of the classic Gene Krupa style, and that was originally a part of the Benny Goodman Orchestra, Sing Sing Sing. He also started his own band, as I said, and we have an original song called Drum Boogie, where we just got this really cool rolling snare drum. And what's insane about that is there's so many different versions of Drum Boogie that go even faster than that. And your hands are definitely burning by the end of the song because it's just those 16th notes the whole time. But part of that is attributed to the Moeller technique. He studied with Stanford Moeller personally, who was a military snare drummer, the old school sling drums. So that's where his big arms and his kind of jutted elbows came from. But he did it so well. Another signature Krupa-ism is the way that he would use stick shots, which is where you place the stick on the snare drum and hit the stick itself, kind of creating a rim shot type sound. But in Gene Krupa's drum method book, which I have an original copy of, he talks about how you can get different tones out of the stick by hitting different parts of it. And a great example of this is on the song Idaho from the album Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich Drum Battle. He eventually started to move away from the big bands and more into small combos. And you can hear a lot of really tasteful brush playing from him if you listen to the intro to Tiger Rag. Some more great small combo examples are on the song Big Noise from when Gene Krupa had a decent vocabulary of rudiments at his disposal, but he kind of stuck to the more simple and basic ones. But it wasn't the fact that he was using rudiments that made it impressive, it was how musical he was. Everything Gene Krupa did was super musical, and he talked about how he would be singing the melody in his head or out loud when he would go to do solos. And a great example of how musical he was with rudiments is on his version of Caravan, which he is using a paradiddle on one of the live versions between the ride cymbal and the snare, and then a series of double strokes to create this really cool rolling drum pattern. If I had to pick one single drum solo that Gene Krupa did that kind of captures all the different licks that he would play, it would have to be Gene's Blues, and here's a loose interpretation of what that sounds like. And there you have it, just a very brief demonstration of Gene Krupa's drumming style. You really have to dig deep, listen to the records, watch as many videos as you can. Like I said, we're so lucky to have access to so much Gene. He recorded so much music and was on so many videos. You just have to really listen to dig deep and to capture some of that magic and bring it into your own playing. And I'll just share a short story of myself when I was on cruise ships and playing drums. A lot of his things that he taught me came through in my playing, but it was only after I stopped imitating him that that happened. You kind of have to just do that learn to forget it kind of a thing to really be able to do those things when you're at the gig or in the moment. And again, a lot of these things that you hear on the record are in the moment. So don't hyper fixate on any particular lick unless you just kind of want to learn it, just to use it and bring it into your own style. But there's no need to just copy any of these things verbatim. That's not what any of those jazz drummers did back then, and that's not what we should be doing now. Hats off to Gene Krupa, one of my biggest influences and a big influence to many drummers today, yesterday, and tomorrow. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment on your favorite Gene Krupa moment. If you have one, be sure to like, subscribe, but in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.